Hi everyone, welcome to All Things Creative. This is actually a Teaching Tuesday, and I wanted to revisit a little video that I did where we talked about the St. Andrews by the Sea boat that I was painting, and I showed you a value study, which I will put on the screen now. And the value study started out like this. And I went through what I didn't like and liked with that in a different video. So I'm not going to go through that there. I just wanted to show you where we are today. So in the first painting, this value study that I'm looking at, basically what happened was that I didn't particularly like the composition. One of the boat's masts basically split the painting in half, and so what I did was I took that boat out and then I started playing around with a number of different things and got to where we are here. And this is where I just said, you know what, I'm putting it away. I'm struggling too much. It's too much of an effort. I'm not sure what I want to do with it. And I mean, there's things wrong with it naturally, but it's not a horrible painting. It's salvageable. And I said, well, I'm going to take all the pressure off and I'm just going to have fun with this. And I've been having fun with it. And so, that's kind of like the lesson is just kind of, put things away and come back to them and see if there's something that you can save. So here's where we are. Here's where it was when I started with it after I pulled it away, pulled it back out. And I said, you know what? I can drop a few little boats in here. So I did. And this is what that looked like. It's just basically using black paint to draw in the boats. And that was done in, probably while I was teaching down at the Art Center, Middletown Art Center. That was done in about 45 minutes and in between with helping students and things like that. So then the next week I came back and we have this, the orange and the green boat. So I added a channel marker and put in the two boats and basically added the red and green to the boats themselves and just worked in basically the area of the boats for the next couple weeks. You can see all the different posts. This area here, the area where actually I'm pointing to and you can't see, the area where the two boats come back, I'm going to leave that pretty undefined. So since the last video and this video for Teaching Tuesday, a lot of work has gone into the boats. So on this next painting, you can see that even more work has gone into the boats. We've got the masks up. I've got some lines for rigging or that indicate rigging with lost and found edges. And I put the reflections in. I put some little buoys in. And I'm actually thinking about the orange buoy on the green boat of actually making that more of a cylinder and less of a sphere, so that it kind of breaks that up and have it actually touching the water so that it will actually bring us down into the reflections. And then I don't know if you could tell, but between this one and the next one, I decided I was going to do some glazing, which I'll point out on the next one. Kind of made the buildings next to the water there in the back on the more in towards the center. I kind of glazed them with some red and green and to kind of pop them out a little bit more. And I had the intention of actually going back and adding that fishing village on that shore and taking out the lower castle there on their building there on with the trees. But I started to do that. I really didn't like it. It looked too cubic and it really didn't go where I wanted it to go. So I ended up taking that back out. And I have an idea that I'm probably going to put kind of a dinghy or a rowboat or something, make that shore a little bit out more so that there's more in the foreground, and just let the back reside and stay very muted. And I'll probably work on muting those castles a little bit more. I like the two on the top ridge. That third one, depending on what I do in the foreground, may disappear completely and become just, trees. Also take a look at, before I switch to the next photo, all of the reflections in the water. Some of those I like, some of them I don't like. I could have left them, but with wanting to do something more in the foreground and on a beach like setting, it wasn't going to work out right. So you'll see in the next photo what I did, but I just wanted you to point those out. I mean, they're kind of interesting reflections, but it's also a mash of what I was doing when I was painting earlier, trying to save the painting without actually thinking about composition and things like that. Okay, so here's the next photo, and you can see made all the water in the front blue for this particular time. And you know, I really like how the boats are looking, with a few changes there that I talked about earlier about the buoy. I think I'm going to bring that down to the water. And today I plan on working on the beach area in the front and putting in a dinghy. But I want to draw your eye back to the buildings in the very back where the cloud and the mountains seem to touch behind the boats. And there's the purple and the blue and the clouds there. I glazed that with a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red, and it really like pulled the two of the images or two of the shapes together, and it really pushed it back and it warmed it up, and I really liked the way that that looked. And I did a little bit more glazing on the buildings there behind the first where the water comes out, or where the land comes out to the water, in the center of the painting. I also glazed them. I'm going to leave them there. They aren't really something that I like, but at the same token, since there's nothing on the left that pulls our eye goes right to it because we're directing it to it. So by putting a small little dinghy on a beach back there, that'll give our eyes something really nice to look at and feel like it's a part of the painting versus having nothing there but the green and the tree that we tend to ignore when we're looking at it, and then this nice dark brown line that basically directs us right back there. Putting a dinghy in there will also give me like a little triangle of basically three objects, so or four objects, excuse me. So, I may put maybe two dinghies there, one a little closer, one a little further back, and then I have 5 objects in the front, which is a nice number. Odd numbers are always nice, and seem, for some reason, it's an eye thing. We like odd numbers, so that would give me like 5 things there. That would look really, really nice. So here's where we are. Still some more work. I'll probably go back and put some more red reflection, dark red reflection under the boat, the red boat. I like the way that I've broken that up a little bit with some of the water, so that'll stay that way. And I will probably put some more highlights on the clouds in the back and work in the trees a little bit, warming some of that up a little with possibly some glazing or adding some cobalt teal. That will then reflect down into the water because I like the way that cobalt teal looks with the blue water. In my second class, I will be working on something I started last week, which I will share with you now. It's basically a rose painting. You can tell I'm thinking spring, but what I did with this is I took Michael Harding's Burnt Sienna and basically just thinned it out with some turp, and you can do that with medium as well. It's totally up to you. I'm just used to doing it with turpentine, and I know Michael would probably yell at me for doing that, but what can I say? It's an old habit. I should learn how to break it. But basically what I do is I tone the canvas, and then I use my brush to carve out, almost like sculpting, the different values. So I may add some of the burnt sienna, or that isn't as thin, in the darker values, and use some turpentine to lift off some color to form the petals. And that is a really fun process that I like doing. I call it drawing with a brush. And it really, at this stage, with everything being as wet as it is, you can really, erase any mistakes. So you're doing this quick little drawing that then you can step back from and say, how does that look? Are there things I want to change? Does the shape look right? Do the petals look right? Does the light hitting look right? What do I want to do with the composition? So this is a really close-up view of that. It's at the top part of the canvas. And I'm going to be adding 2 more roses, and then there's this whole question about foliage in the background and how detailed I want to get with some of those areas. So this is what it looks like actually on the canvas, and that's not the full canvas. I didn't take a picture of the full canvas, so there is probably another third of the canvas there. The canvas size is 20 by 24, and so I'll be putting in 2 roses, 2 more roses down below, probably in a S configuration, or the bottom part of an S if you think of it. So 1 more to the right and then 1 more to the left, so that we get this nice little path that we can go through, and then that our eye can walk through. And then what I'll probably end up doing is then having some branches or maybe some spent rosebuds in the back. That'll help also direct our eye around the painting. So this is what I'm just calling Spring Rose. It's a work in process. So at this point, it's more of a drawing type of painting. I mean, it's not, painting, but I don't like drawing with charcoal. I'm bad about that. So that's why I typically use a monochromatic type of thing, a grayscale, for example, to really refine the drawing, or a warm color like this, and play with it. So this will be a nice, background to what I will end up painting on here. So the colors that I'll end up using. So that's why I chose the burnt sienna. And it's interesting in the Tuesday night class, because it's basically whatever you want to do. So if you want to paint with oils, you can paint with oils. If you want to learn this technique that I'm doing, I will be glad to teach my students to do that. And there are some folks that are drawing with pencils and with pastel, or not pastel, with pencils and charcoal on sketchbooks, and they're doing still lifes that I set up in the front of the room. So a lot of folks just following their creative spirit in the Tuesday evening class, but it's basically focused on drawing and oil painting. So that's Teaching Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in and watching this. If you would like to have access to the actual course material, so we're up to week 3 on the From Brush to Palette Knife Painting course. If you'd like access to that, you can become a patron. So for as little as $3 a month, you could become a patron and have access to all of the painting courses. And I am also getting ready to start creating writing courses. So we'll talk about like character development and plot twist and the outline and all the different things. So I'll be starting little coursework for that, and all of that could be available to you for $3 a month, as little as $3 a month. So thank you for listening to All Things Creative Podcast, and I will catch you next time. Thanks for listening to this demo as well. Thanks. Bye.